A lot of people think this is ISIS and their overarching objective to create what they consider a clash of civilizations between the values, theirs and those of Western civilization. Here to discuss, Michael Pregent and Frank. Of course, I'm loath to call their values civilized, Frank, but that being said, I Googled the term associated with ISIS, and it goes back since 9/11. What is this exactly, and what would ISIS get out of it?
Well, I would respectfully disagree with the idea that this is a clash of civilizations. I think there's clearly a civilization, Western civilization, on one side, and there's a barbarian, totalitarian ideology. Its adherents call it Sharia on the other. And I think by basically any measure of civilization, the idea of Sharia and what it entails, what it does to women, what it does to Jews and other religious faiths and, you know, homosexuals and so on, is simply uncivilized. So I think it's fair to say that those adherents, which includes, by the way, not just the Islamic State, but Al-Qaeda and the Taliban and Boko Haram and Al-Shabaab and Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran, but also not least the Muslim Brotherhood. These guys are all seeking to impose that Sharia program on us throughout the civilized world. Right. And the violent kind of jihad is their preference, but it's not the only one they use. And frankly, some of the other techniques, stealthiness, immigration, material support for terrorism, are actually more dangerous to Western societies like ours. And we need to be alive and defending ourselves against them as well.
But here's the thing, though, Michael. If that is the case, why push the envelope to the point where you know there's an election for national leadership, and you make it easier for the leader that's calling for your eradication to be propelled to office? Obviously, it seems that the people who thought about yesterday's attack in Paris knew that that would help Le Pen. We saw several acts of terrorism during our period. Every single time it helped Donald Trump. Why are they doing this? Why would they commit these acts that are going to put people in office that are determined to get rid of them?
Well, this is the apocalyptic wing of ISIS. They want to bring Western powers to the Middle East to go to war with their Islamic warriors. I would hesitate to give ISIS credit in shaping the election in France. I mean, ISIS has built a model to be able to take responsibility for any attack that takes place anywhere, as long as the attacker is Muslim and says Allahu Akbar. So we shouldn't give ISIS too much credit. And remember, ISIS said that Trump would be a recruiting tool for them. He was not. ISIS is probably saying the same thing about Le Pen if she wins. What ISIS learned quickly with the Trump administration is that President Trump accelerated the war against ISIS and has actually given his military commanders the tools. I expect Le Pen to do the same thing internally with Paris if she does win. I also expect the conservative candidate to her left to do the same thing. So this doesn't help ISIS. They're just looking to take advantage of it, and I don't think we should give them credit.
Well, if we give them credit or not, the point is that they do tell the world that, hey, this was us, we did this, and again, I think ultimately there are going to be voters in France who pull the lever next week who probably 2 days ago weren't going to vote for Le Pen, but after that most recent attack are probably going to say, I see the light and we do need to protect our country. So, Frank, how does this all come to an end? Everyone's saying this is an ideological battle and it's going to go on for decades, and so there won't be any definitive victory for the West.
Well, I think if we continue doing what we've been doing, that's almost certainly the case. What we've argued at the Center for Security Policy for some time is that we need to use essentially the strategy that Ronald Reagan used to defeat the last totalitarian ideology that tried to take country and civilization down, namely Soviet communism. It was sort of formulated in a then classified document called National Security Decision Directive 75, and it called for all instruments of national power to be used against that ideology, to use political warfare to discredit it, to delegitimate it, to discourage people from adhering to it and participating in its further march. It used economic warfare to deny them the means by which to threaten us. It used covert operations, intelligence. It used, in fact, kinetic where necessary. And that's obviously the kind of strategy that I think is needed today.
All right, gentlemen, thank you both very much. Really appreciate your expertise tonight.